Thanks for joining me. This is Danny, and welcome back to my Real Tech series. Today we are going to be doing a little bit of autocrafting with Immersive Engineering, so to speak. We're going to be making the assembler from Immersive Engineering. This is basically an autocrafting machine. It takes some input, and it takes you give it some crafting recipes, and then it drops the output on the other side. What's really nice about the assembler, and the reason that I want to use it for autocrafting right now, is that it also has fluid tanks in it. So not only is it able to do like item crafting recipes, but it can also do crafting recipes that involve fluids. And that's the main thing we're going to be using this for today, is we're going to be setting up automation for crafting treated wood. Because if you don't know already, to make treated wood, you do need to surround a bucket of creosote oil with some kind of planks. It can be any planks, and you get your 8 treated wood. So if you want to make large amounts of treated wood, it can get to be a bit of a pain sometimes. So what we're going to do in this factory is we're going to set it up so that our drop chest that we're using to drop lots of other things in here, like ore doubling and ingredients for steel, if we drop wood in this chest in sets of 8, oak planks in sets of 8, we are going to get in the output chest 8 treated wood. So if we drop a stack in here of oak planks, we're going to get a stack of treated wood in here. But the magic of this is going to take place upstairs. It's where the assembly process is going to take place. These are the blocks that we're going to need, the required materials in order to build this thing. And of course, if we go like this, we'll be able to see each layer of the blocks. You can see there are little green X's next to all of them because that means I have all the blocks already. So a lot of these I already had as leftovers from other things that I built, but we just need some steel scaffolding, iron sheet metal. It's a little bit of steel, a little bit of iron. It's not too terribly expensive. And then a couple conveyor belts. And then we're also going to need, for this whole project, we're going to need some more conveyor belts, some fluid pipes, and a fluid extractor. We could also use a pump from Immersive Engineering, but I'm going to use a fluid extractor from the Ultimate Car mod just because our space is going to be very cramped down there. And I'm going to set up the machine right over here. So the creosote oil, if you don't already know, is the product that we get from the coke oven. So when we put coal in here, we get coal coke, and then we also get some creosote oil as kind of a byproduct of the coal coke process, which is, of course, the coal coke is what we use to make steel over here. We put coal coke in here and some iron, and that gets us steel. So what I'm doing here, because if our creosote oil gets filled up, this guy will stop producing coal coke. So I've got a tank in the back, an expandable tank from the Simple Tanks mod, which looks like I need to expand on because it's full at the moment. But this thing is full of creosote oil. We've got, actually, if we go over to the tank controller, over here, we'll see that we have 128 buckets. So what we're going to do is we're going to pipe this up, and I'm just going to put a hole in the floor right there, and we're going to pipe it up through there, and I'll probably put some scaffolding on the pipe there so that we don't have a hole in the floor. And when we build this machine, we will see that if we look at what the final product is going to look like, we have the input on one side. You can see the conveyor belt is going this way. We also see the blue dot indicating input. And then this is the output on the other side. This is where the resulting items are going to drop out. This is also where we're going to input fluid. So you can see there's a little pipe hole right there, I guess. There's also a redstone port here, so we can turn it on and off. And then we do have to give it power at the top. So we're going to place this thing facing in this direction. And we're going to be piping stuff in off of this conveyor belt. So we're going to have to adjust the filters. But let's build this thing first, and then we'll look at adjusting the filter. This is the projector from Immersive Petroleum. It allows us to project a multi-block structure in the world so that we know where to place the blocks. The last thing we did with this projector was make the diesel generator downstairs. In order to change that, all we have to do is open the engineer's manual to the structure that we want to create right now, and then we put the projector in the crafting grid with it, and it is now the assembler projector. So now we can place this thing wherever we want to. So we middle click to rotate it. Okay, so we want it that way, so the conveyor belt is going the other way. You can also shift middle click to like flip it. Oh, but it also places it in the world. Now I'm going to flip it back. And I want to place this thing so the pipe is going to come up there. So I'm going to place this thing right here. So that's where we're going to place the machine. It's going to go above these conveyor belts, which is fine because these are covered conveyor belts. It's not going to affect them. I'm going to end up covering up these hoppers just to make sure that nothing gets in there. But first, let's just assemble this machine. So here's our... Oh, and we do need to keep the projector in our hotbar. And when I'm holding the sheet metal, you can see that it's highlighting the blocks, or the areas where I need to place them, which is nice. And then those are the redstone blocks. This is a completely symmetrical build. It's one of the only ones that's symmetrical. Oops. So we could end up actually making either side of this the input or the output. It depends which one we click on, which I will get to that in a second. So it's just 3 sheet metal on each side. And then we put the conveyor belts here. And I lost my projector again. Now we're at the next level, and this is the sheet metal slabs on the sides. This part is easy to mess up. I think the last time I did this, I put full blocks here instead of slabs. And it didn't work for me. Oh, whoops. Don't fall in the hopper now. Okay. And then the full sheet metal blocks. All right, there. And we got a green thing that tells us that we did it right. I'm just gonna clear that out. And then I'm going to, so whichever side we want to be input is the side that we're going to click the conveyor belt on. And then ta-da! There's the assembler. Nice. Okay, so now we just need to get power in this thing and then pipe in the liquid. So if we right click on it, we'll see we have this nice GUI. We can set up to 3 recipes in here. And they can feed each other too. So for instance, we could put logs in here and have it craft them into planks, and then have it craft the planks into treated wood, which maybe we'll do that, because then it'll accept either logs or planks, and it'll give us treated wood. So I'm going to take the oak planks, and I'm going to say, I'm going to set up the recipe. That's a chest. When I put the creosote oil in the middle, you can see that it tells us, hey, we can make treated wood planks. And then I'm also going to set up the recipe to make oak planks, because why not? And then at some point, maybe we'll have a third recipe here for something else. So then we got to pipe in the creosote oil. I'm just going to use the fluid extractor to extract out of here. Again, we could use an Immersive Engineering pump there, but I'm not, because this is just more compact, because as you can see, we don't have much room back here. But the extractor will go into these pipes, so it's all good. There we go. So that connects. Now, if we look in here, we should see that we are filling up with creosote oil. So now, once we get some power in here, we should be able to start crafting. Connector there, and then connect that to here. So we should have power now. Yeah. So now, if we throw a couple of... Oh, you know what? We need to get a conveyor belt in this thing. So if I place a conveyor belt here, and I throw 2 oak woods on here, it'll go inside, and eventually... Oh, because I don't have a conveyor belt on this side. Okay. Okay, so let's do this again. Put a conveyor belt there, but I'm going to turn it around. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way so that it doesn't end up there. So let's try this again. If we throw 2 oak woods on here, one, 2, and we get 8 treated wood. Yay! Nice. So now we got to hook this thing up to the rest of the network, which should be pretty easy. But first, I'm going to grab the steel scaffolding. and right click there. So that'll kind of wrap that pipe in steel scaffolding so that we don't have a big hole in the floor. So there's a couple places we're going to have to filter this. So this drop chest goes right into this filter. And we have iron and coal going up to the top, which is heading over, which is basically getting dropped into these machines over here in order to make steel. We also are going to want oak wood going up. Everything else ends up going this way and going into the crusher. We of course don't want it to go into the crusher, so that way when we're ore doubling, we just drop all our ore doubles or all our ores in there. So that's going to end up going along this conveyor belt, which heads up above those machines and into these hoppers. But before it goes into hoppers, it goes into these two filters. Now there's one filter here. So the coal goes east, so it ends up in the coke oven, and the iron and coal coke end up going south over by the blast furnace so that they end up making steel. Anything else ends up in this barrel up on the top. So we don't really want that to happen anymore. And the only reason that that exists is if something happens to fall onto the conveyor belt so that it doesn't end up clogging up these things. So what I'm going to do with this barrel is I'm going to put it here. I'm actually going to put a different barrel there that covers that whole block eventually. But what we're going to say is we're going to say on the top side, we're going to allow oak wood. And then I'm going to put a vertical conveyor belt there, which that should catch there. So let's just make sure. So if we put a couple oak wood in there, it should end up going up. We should see it going across. We should. Oh, there we go. Now it's going into the covered conveyor belts. It goes into that filter, and then it should go up. Yep, and bounces right into the machine, and it comes out the other side as treated wood. Hooray! Nice. So that's perfect. So then actually what I'm just going to do here, I know this is a little weird, but I'm just going to put a hole in the floor here. And we're going to let the items drop down onto that conveyor belt. That is the one that's behind the coke oven, or is that the blast furnace? The one that's behind the blast furnace, because that's where the slag goes, and then it ends up in this output chest. Oh no, it doesn't. It ends up going into the furnace. What does that get us? Wait, what? I don't know. I don't know what happens to that. Let's see. I don't know where that ended up. Okay, so in this, so that conveyor belt goes under this. It comes out over here, and it comes up, and it ends up going into this filter, which is, if we were ore doubling, this is also where the stuff from the crusher comes out. All of our ores would end up going into these furnaces. Also, that's how we make glass in this setup over here. So what we want is that to the north, we want treated wood to be placed to the north. So now it should be ready to go. So if we put that oak wood in there, oak wood should go up. So we should be able to see this whole process from beginning to end now. Heads over here. Goes up there, into there. Comes out the other side. It should drop down and then end up on that conveyor belt back there. So we should end up seeing it pass under. Oh, and then it comes back up, and then it should end up over here, and then it ends up in this chest. Hooray! Oh, that was it. That's it. So in the future, I am going to be moving these chests to a more accessible location, like maybe out here. And then in the next episode, we're actually going to be building a little delivery train that is going to go to our base and the warehouse and possibly other places throughout the village, so that we have a place where we can kind of we're going to set up kind of a request system. Okay, I have the output and input on the front of the building now. I really wanted to use this mailbox, but it didn't look very good in front of the conveyor belts. And I could put it on top of a hopper, but that didn't look very good either. And the inventory is only 9, so we might want a bigger inventory than that. So Now if we put our oak wood in here, we're going to end up getting treated wood in here. As you can see, I already have one there. But it goes down, there's an extracting conveyor belt here, and it goes along that same route upstairs, and then it'll come out. And instead of going into this chest like it did before, this one used to go into the chest, it's going to swing around here and go into this dropping conveyor belt, which drops down to a conveyor belt below, which goes over here and then comes back up into this chest. So I should see that coming along soon. It does end up taking a little longer, and the crazy thing is the crafting process is almost instantaneous, so the only thing we're waiting for are items to move along the conveyor belts. And there we go. There's our treated wood. Hooray! But ultimately, we're going to set up a rail network in the future that's going to be dropping stuff off into here and picking stuff up into here from wherever. We'll probably have like various drop-off places throughout the town, and then things will get picked, or wait, various places where we can drop things off throughout the town, and then we'll have a thing here where we can pick up the result, like somewhere at our base. Actually, it will be in this mailbox. Maybe. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about the small inventory in there, so I might end up using something else. But it would be pretty cool if we could go to our mailbox and say, oh, look, the delivery train brought us this today. So that's it for today. If you do have any questions or comments or ideas or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this, don't forget to click the like button and to join me next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.